Hey everyone, Dan Soletti here, creator and author of the new Hogwarts Trio series, and I'm here to give you a few bonus facts behind the scenes stuff on the story you just heard, Harry Potter and the Christmas Thief. So I wasn't 100% sure how to write this because I did want to do a Harry Potter Christmas story, but I wasn't quite sure how to write it. Every film does include Christmas somehow, but this one was the main plot. This is how Christmas was involved as a focus point of the story. So it was very interesting to write, but I think I made it work this time. So some of the things that you might not have noticed were the poem in the beginning. There is a very night before Christmas type thing, and it does give a little bit of an explanation of what happened in the first story, ongoing story, and then the second one, the Weasley Granger Hex. When the trio is wrapping presents in the beginning, that's not only a reference to Christmas and all the Christmas happenings that happen at Hogwarts, but you hear Ron mention Darren Stevens, which is a Bewitched reference, and then you also hear the music playing, which is a song from Deathly Hallows called My Love Is Always Here, and that's supposed to be played on the record player. We also have the return of fan favorite Hagrid as well, which is fun. The Great Hall scene, that's very much like the first couple films, Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, all the Christmas happenings in there, and the putting the ornaments on the tree, which is fun. We also hear a reference to the Triwizard Tournament and the Yule Ball as well. And that is a reference to not only Goblet of Fire, but something that will happen on further in the story. We also hear that a reference to Elizabeth liking animals. This, of course, is because Elizabeth is again played by my friend Lindsay Beam, who is a animal person, so that's kind of fun. The scene where we find out that it's possibly Harry who stole the presents of the trio is because the scene where we see Harry. The scene where we see the glasses on the floor and the broomstick riding away is, of course, a reference to Harry himself. And could he be the thief who stole the trio's presents? We don't know. We then, of course, get a appearance by Ginny Weasley, who is a little bit offended of what's going on, and that, of course, is played by Bonnie Wright, the original actress who did play Ginny. We also have a point where Elizabeth says, "We have a mystery on our hands," and a ghost comes out and says, "I resent that comment." That is supposed to be a reference to, of course, Scooby-Doo. Mystery on our hands is a famous catchphrase from that show, and then ghosts, they're always after ghosts in that show, so there you go. We then get one of the biggest Christmas references ever, the Yule Ball itself, the return of that. The fact that Elizabeth went up to the two boys, Thomas and Don, again played by Don, myself, and Thomas, my friend Brennan Corrigan, is a reference to Goblet of Fire, where Hermione had to, kind of egg on Harry and Ron to come to that ball, where the two of them did not ask her. Hagrid bringing her down by herself. Again, Hermione coming by herself, so that's a reference to that from Goblet of Fire. And then, of course, the Yule Ball is a direct reference to the Yule Ball you see in Goblet of Fire. After the kidnapping, sort of Harry Potter and trying to explain to him what happened to him and the gifts, we get an appearance by Ron and Hermione, again played by Rupert Grint and Emma Watson. And they're trying to figure out what's going on, so there are some references to Obliviate Charm and Polyjuice Potion, and then we, of course, get the knockout scene from the eggnog as well. We then enter the Hogwarts Express, and I wanted to include this because I knew that we then get to the Hogwarts Express, and I wanted to include this because, for me, nothing says Christmas like a train. I mean, you always see trains around the Christmas trees. There's the famous book and film, The Polar Express, so I knew I had to include this somehow, and so the part where they get out of their locked rooms and up to the top of the train, that is a reference to Polar Express, because there's a lot of the movie takes place on top of that, with the chase scene on the skis, the meeting the hobo, taking the girl to the front of the train, all that good stuff. We then, of course, get a huge reveal that Ginny Weasley is not who she says she is. She, in fact, is the result of Polyjuice Potion taken by Draco Malfoy. I wanted to include him because he is a famous character in Harry Potter. He is the main villain in ways, sort of, and I thought, oh, I got to include him here. So he is a return to that, and of course, again, played by actor Tom Felton. We then get a huge reference to Deathly Hallows within regards to the graveyard. We hear the same music played in Deathly Hallows. It's the same exact graveyard you see in Deathly Hallows, and this is where the real crime happens. It is the stealing of the gravestone, and there are many things referenced there, including Harry and Hermione's journey to Godric Hollow to see the gravestone, and we even have a reference to the wreath as well, and the vanishing cabinet from Half-Blood Prince, which is how the crime is committed. Everybody there knows that they need to get the gravestone back, so they run back to the Hogwarts Express, and we have a reference to the invisibility cloak and the time turner, and these are going to come in handy for when we get the gravestone back. We also have a name of a destination where they're going to go, which is Borgin and Burke's, which is where the first vanishing cabinet would be in Half-Blood Prince. Now, the whole episode here where we go from the train to the platform to King's Cross to London to the Leaky Cauldron and to the Diagon Alley, that is all a reference to Sorcerer's Stone, where we first have Harry and Hagrid go to all those places and in that order. And that, of course, brings us to the brick wall entrance, which is something you see in Sorcerer's Stone and even in the Universal Parks, which is cool. We then get to the store Borgin and Burke's, and we see Draco Malfoy there, of course, and we have a whole bunch of references to Christmas and kidnapping, sort of, with the garland tying him up, and then even some spells as well there, and a nice summing up of the plot done by Thomas. We then get a huge reference in the form of the Time Turner again, where that is wrapped up, and this is where we enter a nice big Prisoner of Azkaban reference, kind of hidden in plain sight there, with the fact that we go back in time to the graveyard, we go back and trying to fix things that we already seen, but kind of do it differently, with the cloak being draped over the gravestone to make it look like it's gone, and stuff like that. And this also figures out why Draco asked, "Which one of you hit me?" Thomas hits him on the head to knock the first Draco out. When all this is said and done, the students leave the store, and we find this big cloud is chasing after them. This big cloud is supposedly Voldemort, and it's a big reference to Sorcerer's Stone, with that smoke version of him passing from Professor Quirrell's body through Harry Potter and leaving the site. So it's asking yourself, is he still at large? Who knows? We then reunite with the original group, and we ride on broomsticks to the Potter's house to enjoy Christmas. And the thing where Don mentions that he doesn't want to ever spend Christmas with Harry again, telling it to his friends, might reference what Ron said about killing Harry Potter and saving Draco Malfoy in Deathly Hallows. We're not quite sure. We then, of course, get the famous closing from Night Before Christmas. Merry Christmas to all, and to all good night. I thought that was just a nice way to end it. So this was a very quick story, if you noticed. It did have a few references here and there to Harry Potter and past stuff, but I think it did work out in the end. I mean, Harry Potter's known to be confusing, and this was certainly a confusing story at times. But until then, stay tuned to the other stories in this series, and until then, Merry Christmas.